I don't see you on TikTok yet.
Hold on, let me see.
Go. Just working out some of the kinks, so bear with us a minute. All right, so we have stock market trading. Say that I
Topic is futures trading, education.
should. Learning. There we go. 5 should be up now. Yeah. Good too. All right, so two screens, both of them. YouTube. YouTube's got two screens. 21. Hey, Bruno. A couple of different screens up here. Any suggestions? Hearing. All right, that's better. All right, welcome aboard, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me and the sound is good. Wait for this to link over. There we go. Now we got our link and we are live. Welcome to ADT's public outreach program, broadcast of live futures trading and training. Welcome aboard, everyone. Glad to see you. Good. Trying all of our little things here. ADT coach, that's me actually typing into the chat box. Appreciate everyone coming along for the ride today. FOMC meeting today at 2 o'clock. Didn't really yield much of anything in the way of any movement. We got a little bit of a pop down on ES here. Oops, that one. Let's see. Should have my Weeble. Here we go. And all right, well, we're going to stick with that for now. Looking at ES, we got a little bit of a drop down right at the 2 o'clock news release. Nothing drastic. We popped down and we're already starting to recover that. On NQ, same deal. We got a little bit of a drop down. And if we take this real quick, we can take a peek at maybe getting into a little quick scalpy scalp here if we get any interest to the upside. I want to see a break and hold above the 200 before I get into any of this, because I don't want to mess with any of this right here in the middle of the trend channel. So best to stay out of that until we can see some clearance there. Clearance. Here, make sure we can say thank you, and thank you everyone over on TikTok for joining us. If you do have any questions, please let us know. Type them into your chat box there, and we will do our best to answer you. We've got 2 different things running today. I've got TikTok Studio. Hopefully we can keep TikTok up and running for the duration. We took it out of our OBS software and separately. So we'll see how it goes. Can everyone in the Zoom hear me okay? And can everyone in the socials hear us okay? Both myself and the people in Zoom.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah. You can. Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, how about me? Am I breaking up? That's been a bit of an issue lately.
No, you sound better than you was earlier.
Ah, very good, very good. All right. Cool. Thank you, Eljo. Appreciate your feedback there. Just a quick legal, everyone here at American Dream Trading, none of us are licensed financial, tax, or investment advisors. Everything we talk about here is for training purposes only. And when we do talk about trading, we ask that you do not try to copy trade or follow our trades if we're doing any live trading. Reason being is that not only is that a bad idea to follow someone on the internet in a live stream, you are also on a delay. So you are not going to see what I see right away. Hey, Mark, good to see you, man. And we're just trying out all the goodies here. Now that I have Restream up, I might actually be able to see some of the other chats if people over in the other socials like Kick and some of the other places that we're at. Yeah, please stop doing that, man. Every stream. Thank you much. See you later. All right, so anywho's, we are looking at M&Q right now, and we got a little bit of a pull on the news, got a little bit of a rebound, and now we're actually just yo-yoing back and forth. We don't really know what NQ wants to do right now. So we can take a look around at some of the other stuff. We've got the Dow right here actually had a decent EWO to the upside if you caught this EWO right off the get-go. Which, let me get to the 2-minute here real quick. Get a decent EWO to the upside. The challenge with an EWO entry on this one, though, is that we would have had VWAP right in our face, and we would have had to suffer this rejection right away. So chances are that would have been a no entry, but a break and hold of the 9 still would have been a bit of a challenge all the way up and through here. Trying to dig through the indicators. The better play was the downside play just prior to that, where we had our EWO entry here would have had to sit through a bit of a drawback if you got into that, but that would have been a no entry simply because there was no volume move on this candle to the downside. We would have waited for this to come back, retest our indicators, and then get in on a break and hold on the candle just prior to this move here and the way down. So break and hold here to the downside, and we could have caught once we broke this low. This would have been my entry candle right here. Could have caught 55 ticks on a micro contract to the downside on YM, and that would be, I believe, $1 a tick. So how do we figure out what our tick values are? I've got a nice little program over here called Weeble that, let me see if I can transfer over to it. Here. Bear with 1 second, get this fixed. Grabbing it. Okay. Well, we're going to move on. So let's see, on YM, I'll just do this real quick. YM is every dollar move, if I remember correctly. Okay. And our spec link on that is 55 ticks. That's 50 cents a tick, so that's about $25 scalp on, or yeah, it would be a scalp because we didn't enter on the EWO signal itself, but a $25 scalp to the downside per micro contract. So if you're in with a couple of those, that's a really nice move to the downside off, and then take it off the double bottom bounce and shut it down there. Welcome, Pilot Dog over there on TikTok. Appreciate you showing up. Mario, temp winner. Got quite a few people over here now. Reversal King, Trader King, thank you for joining. Please don't forget to like, share, and follow. Tap that screen, and if you would, type in hashtag FYP into the chat box over there on TikTok. Perfect setup on YouTube. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Need a sound suppression on. Did you hear the vent in the back while it was running? Is that what that was? Jesus? Over on the YouTube? No. Appreciate you, Ralph, over there on the YouTube. Welcome aboard, Pappy D. Thanks for joining us over on TikTok. If you guys have any questions, again, please run them into your chat box and let's get those questions answered. White noise and mouse clicks. Okay. Yep. All right. So I've got noise suppression on. Noise gate is on. Well, how's the gain? Is it loud enough? Everything coming through okay? Just picking up the other noises? Thank you, Wade, for popping in. Appreciate you. TikTok noise filter. Okay. See here, I've got. I'll have to do that a little bit later. I'm not really sure how to do that just yet. We'll work on that. Okay, so if anyone has got Any questions? Again, please just put them in the chat box. We're going to continue on and move on to other things. We've been trading a lot of NG lately, which is natural gas, and you can see here that we've got some really beautiful EWOs. Again, right at 7 o'clock in the morning, one of our members likes to trade this one. He likes to start looking at this at between the 7 o'clock hour and 8 o'clock hour for EWO entries. And sure enough, we've got a beautiful EWO entry right here at 650. And you can see that if you got in with a number of contracts, you're not going to be able to see what I can write on the screen, by the way, for you out there in the socials. So I will use arrows for some of this. But your first shed point would have been here. Your next shed point would have been here. And your full out or next shed, depending on how many contracts you're running, would have been there. And then full out here on the 9 cross of the 21 to the downside. So if you're in with 6 contracts, say it's just nice easy 6 contracts, what you would be doing is you'd be shedding about 50% on your first pull right here. 50%, so you'd be shedding 3 contracts here, and then it'd be 50, 20, 20, and then have 10% running. What we like to do, the reason why we like to do that is we like to capture as much as we can off the first pull. That way we've got some money in the bank. We don't have to worry too much about pullbacks. I'd have my stop down below this $4 level. This is a great example of a key level for us right now. We've been watching $4 on natural gas for quite some time. And this is a gold level on my chart for that reason. So EWO entry here on the yellow line, the blue ray here, it would be my protection for the trade. So it's now a free trade, and off we go. Next shed point would be up here. That'd be 20%. Well, if you're in with 6 and you shed 3 on the first one, all of your next sheds are going to be single contract sheds. So you shed 1 here, 1 at the top, and then you're full out again here, and you're ready for the next EWO. So moving on to that next entry, your next entry would be here on the EWO. This is a break and hold of the 55. This would be a relatively decent entry with your stop right above the last high, be up here. So again, if we're getting into this trade and we're looking at shed points, this one actually pulls back a couple of different times and checks in on the 55 each time. But your first major pullback would be right here. And if you can stomach the 55, again, it has checked in not only after the entry, upon entry, but also after the entry. So using this as the backbone of the trade, and we're still within the trend channel of the overall trade itself, I would have actually stuck through this one a little bit, because this is a VWAP bounce. As long as it respected the 55 on the way down or on the way up, I still would have been in this trade. But this would be my first shed point as it came down to VWAP. Now, we had a member that actually missed the entry but got in on the scalp right here and rode that all the way down to VWAP. That was a really nice scalp on his part. And any questions over on the TikTok just yet? I'll work on that noise filter for TikTok. No one wants to hear the mouse clicky clacking. So on this one, this would be our first shed point here, and then our next shed would be right here. Third shed, and here, and then full out here. So again, if you're in with 6 contracts, you're shedding 3, 1, 1, full out. So there's 2 back-to-back EWOs that you could have gotten in and made pretty nice money on NG today. All the while, once you're into that trade, you protect it, and you can see that it never came back to the protection point as it respected the 55. Now, that would have been a pretty hairy thing to hang on to. And I know a few people that probably would have exited out of the trade completely. at that point and then looked at a re-entry, but for a scalp or continuation. But if you can stomach through these and actually shed at these points and utilize your indicators and trust your indicators, you can stay in these trades longer and capture more profitability out of each one. This stuff chart a bit. Go. All right. Please don't forget, tap that screen, hit those like, share, and follow buttons. All right, so over here, Mr. Hospitality on YouTube is saying, what do I mean by shedding? Well, as we enter a particular trade, say I enter on the EWO to the downside here, if I've got 6 contracts up here, I want to shed 3 of them right here. So I would be shedding, or if I'm in a short, I would be buying back 3 contracts. So that would be my shed in that particular instance. So if I'm in a short to the downside, in order to shed, I would be buying back contracts in order to lighten the load. So then I would have 3 contracts running. My next shed point would be down here somewhere. So I'd be buying back 1 more contract here. And then as it continues to pull back and so on, I can continue to buy back contracts because I sold them at the top originally. That's a good question. Thank you. Yeah, that's correct. Except in the opposite direction. So if I was in a long, for your edification there, Mullins, if I was in a long on this EWO, which really was the better EWO of the 2, reason being is that all the indicators were underneath underneath us. So the long on this one was really the cleanest EWO. Sitting in an EWO where you're challenged with VWAP and some other high value indicators can get a little hairy sometimes. Now, if we were in a long here, Mullins, we would be selling off at each shed point. So if we're in with 6 contracts here, I'd be selling off 3 contracts here, and then 1 contract here, 1 contract here, and then full out here. Well, if you're in with 2, then you pick your shed points with just where you would shed your first one. So the first shed would technically be right here if you were to shed 1, and then you protect your trade and you're just riding out the rest of the trade in that direction. I've done that on several occasions where I'm only in with 2 contracts and I have 1 to shed, and I let the other one run until it tells me to get out of the trade, which means you have to stick through stuff like this. You don't have the stomach to stick through these on a 1 contract entry. Your entry point being down here, and your trade is protected below the lowest low prior to this dip. As long as your trade doesn't come back and challenge this low, you're still in it. So as far as holding on to the EWO and sticking in with that 1 contract, the beauty with going in with multiple contracts is on your first shed, you've collected some money, it's in the bank, and now the trade that the contract or contracts that you have running is a free trade. There's no stress in letting those just run and do their thing. I do too, Mr. Hospitality. So I don't tend to get in with a ton of contracts. Well, good. Mr. Hospitality, if you are just getting started, it would be highly valuable for you to hop into our futures group and get some training. We are live 8:30 in the morning all the way until 4 o'clock p.m. every single day the market is open. So we have folks in here right now. We've got 37 people in our live Zoom right now. If anyone wants to open their mic and say hi to the group, it would be appreciated. Some of them might be
Hello.
trading. There's one.
Hello,
Hey,
Mr. Hospitality.
Hey.
There we go.
What up?
Hey,
Hello.
Real live people asking real live questions, getting stuff done in here.
I am a robot.
Robot.
I am a robot.
Why am I here?
Yeah, look at me. And you see those what are they called? Notifications going off in people's charts all the time. Got their mics open. So yeah, Mr. Hospitality, if you've got the time and would love to learn more about what we're doing, this is what we do every day. Break down trades. We talk about charting, looking at levels, all the good things. We also talk about news. Today, the FOMC meeting really didn't have any impact, or the minutes that came out really didn't have any impact at all. Not really a big deal today. Just a report. It was an actual meeting at all. Let's see, what else have we been playing? I've been playing around with silver a lot lately. And down here, I've got a couple of levels turn. I'll get the bigger chart. Down here, I had a couple of levels that I was watching. And the trend that I was looking for it to break out of right here, I had this snaps from earlier. So what I was looking for out of this move was it needed to break this overall downtrend. I pulled this back and did a replay of where this was at the time. The trend was actually down. There's Coach's indicators catching back up. So the trend was actually down, and what I was looking for an upside play, because I missed all of this to the left. This was a gorgeous move on silver this morning. I was looking for a break of this trend line to the upside, and as it worked itself out, it tried several times, but you can see that the trend channel was just not going in the right direction. So what we really needed to see here was not only a break and retest of this for the upside move, but we wanted to see this trend actually work itself to the upside. That gives us the cleanest entries and the safest entries overall. So as you can see, we start to see the trend move in the direction we're looking for. And there's our first big move. Now, the EVO entry to the upside was right here. The challenge there on that particular one is that we've got all of this stuff over here to consider. So as you can see, looking at this one, as you can see, as we came up, created this high, we got an immediate rejection back down to the trend line that I wanted to get away from, most importantly. Tried again, but couldn't break over the body of the last high. So another retest, a little bit deeper this time, down to the 55. We got a good break of the 9 and 21. And the beautiful part here that we have the 921 cross right on this break candle. We have the 9 crossing the 21 almost instantly, which shows us strong momentum to the upside. Avoid getting trapped. So what causes fake breakouts? You're basically looking at support and resistance. So if you've got your support and resistance areas or lines charted, it will be a lot easier for you to avoid those kinds of fake breakouts. West Coast over there on TikTok, thank you for the question. Let's see, Wade asks, how do you find stocks, etc., to trade each day? Well, in futures, we have a relatively limited amount of things that we can look at, and we all have our favorites for the most part. So metals, energy, indices. We do some agriculture. We'll do the piggies and the hogs from time to time. But for the most part, the indices, ES and NQ, tend to run relatively similarly to each other. And YM and M2K tend to have their own beat from the ES and NQ. So what we like to do is watch M2K or the Russell and the Dow for EWOs. They tend to run a little bit more smoothly than ES and NQ at times, especially in high volatility, low volume scenarios like we have last week and this week, where trading volume is relatively low. For the most part, people are still on vacation. So trading in low volume, high volatility scenarios can be very, very tricky. So that's where you want to make sure that you're going in with small position sizes and making sure you're waiting for those A++ setups. So back to this one, as far as the setup, this was a no trade all the way through here. And the reason being is that we have this entire area to get through. Now, why do I look at this entire area? Because I have the highest high, lower high, and the lowest high, all of which are creating a support and resistance zone. Now, what does that mean? Well, as price is coming up to this area, we're expecting it to act like resistance. Well, when that happens, we're obviously going to get some rejections out of here. So the cleanest play is not to enter on the EWO, but to wait for it to break that zone. So your best play is a break and hold. Actually, here, your best entry is right here in the break and hold of the 9 again to the upside. So we get this nice candle. We're challenging the top of that range, and we get the next candle starts directly on the shoulder. I'm going to zoom in so you can see this clear. What we're looking for specifically is this right here, that shoulder to shoulder start with very little wick on the bottom side. You could enter in on this candle right here and ride this for as long as it's going to go. Now, understanding that there's obviously going to be other structure above us, we want to make sure that we've got everything charted out correctly. So as we break this high right here, we want to make sure that this thing's not going to come back and whipsaw back in our face for our scalp entry. Now, just because this is a scalp entry does not mean that we can't manage this like an EWO once we get some space. So if we were entering in here and we had our stop protected right away because of such a volume candle like this, and in silver, we don't mess around with silver. This is an account wrecker if you don't know what you're doing. So once we've got our entry and our stop, now we can actually play this out. Okay, the 9 catches up relatively quickly. Also, the 21. This is the key here. We start to see the 9, 21, and the 55 starting to fan out. So as we get more and more space between these indicators on this volumetric move here, we can start to move our stop up below the last low or the last candle. However, we don't want to get stopped out right away. So we're going to keep this relatively tight, cover our fees. We're going to manage our trade with the finger on the mouse. Right now, there's absolutely no reason to get out of this trade unless this starts to pull back on us, which it did not. Looking right here, even though we've got a candle to the downside, and I don't use red, I use gray myself. 1 second, Midnight Whispers. I'll get to you in a second. On this first downward candle here, even though this was a bit of a color change, it did not break down below the previous candle low. So what I'm be looking for here is right here at the base of this candle. As long as we didn't break below that and test the 9 right away, then I'm not shedding here. This is not a shed point or a sell point. Merely a little bit of consolidation. Now we pull back and we're testing the 9. I can see if someone would be shedding here, but again, I haven't broken down below the last volume candle to the upside in this area. Yes, we tested the bottom side of this candle, but I'm not entirely convinced that this thing is going to come back at me yet. I just don't want to get out of, I don't want to shed here unless it starts to break the 9. I tend to hold a little bit too long sometimes. So we're consolidating and we get a nice move to the upside. Now, I was actually in on these scalps. Yep, I was in on this scalp here. I got in, I missed the move up, but I did catch that entry right there. So as it came back and tested the 9, I was looking for support. Now, what does support look like? Well, it's buyer's wicks. Get a large wick on the underside of the body. Dev, this is silver. It is a futures, and I can't tell you what to buy, sell, or do anything like that. Sorry, I'm not a licensed financial tax or investment advisor. This is training purposes only. So I got in on seeing that this was consolidating and it wasn't really interested in pulling back any further. I got in on the 9 here and I took this up, and this as a quick scalp. I took this up as it broke the high, and as soon as it started to sell off, I started shedding. Now I protected my trade right away. I was in with I think 5 contracts, and right around here, if I remember correctly. And then I protected right away to make sure that I cover fees, and just in case this thing comes back at me, because we are challenging this double top right here, I would expect some level of rejection. So I shed at the top here. I think if memory serves, I shed 3, and then as it came back, it almost stopped me out, and I was in for the rest of it. So I was riding my last 2 up a little bit further, and I started to, once I got a little bit of space, I started managing this like an EWO. Now, when I saw this big candle, this doesn't happen all at the same time. When I saw this big candle do what it did, I shed 1 more contract here, but I left my stop alone. Why? Because the 21 is starting to come up and creep its way up, and I was looking for this to find support right through here. Now, why is that? Well, I have my high right here. Oops, let me do this. I've got my high right here and my high here. I know that when I started looking at structure a little bit more in depth, I started watching these as support zones. So this being the last high that we broke, I'm looking at this to act like support, because we never really checked back in on it. Broke it to the upside, but we never actually checked in and made sure that we were still going to be in an upside move. So I shed 3 here, I shed 1 there. I'm still in it. I haven't moved my stop. And now as the trade progresses, you can see how it respected that area very nicely until it came down and stopped me out. That was my last contract, and I was okay with that because at that point, I had already collected on 4 contracts upside. So looking at that, now I can get into another entry if I get confirmation to the upside. So I was patient, waited for it to do its thing, because what was once support is now resistance, and you can see that we're getting wicks. The 9 is now coming back down into this zone, and we're getting wicks to the downside. Now, where am I going to look for support? On the bottom, right in through here. This is where our last support bounce was, and we were getting a fair amount of consolidation through this area. So as this progressed, There's my re-entry. So here's my break of the 9. Here's my break of the key level also, because that was my first support line. So there's my break of the key level. Here's my entry candle right here. Not really seeing a whole lot of upside momentum. Coming back down into here. And my stop, by the way, when I entered this one, I entered on this candle, and my stop was below this low. Why? Because that was the last time we found any support. So I had to sit through this a little bit, but again, understanding structure the way that I've been following it, I know that this still is going to act like support. As price comes back into it, I've got support potential here, not a guarantee, but certainly a potential. And I've got the 9 here, the 21 is right there. So I've got a fair amount of good things happening in this area. So once I got this volume candle to the upside, I protected my trade for fees, and I was back in it. This was a really nice push to the upside. And about there's where I shed. Looking for support. Now, when I was doing this one, my next support bounce area was right off of this last high. Once we broke this high, I was looking for it to come back and retest. I was not shocked about this, but I wasn't going to give up all that profitability either. So, came in, shed here, got the bounce, still in with a couple of contracts. Now we're playing with the middle of the trend channel again. I shed one there. I've got one running. And that was my final out right there. As soon as it broke the 21, that was my final shed. The trade. And then by that time, I was actually in a different Zoom call trying to get the TikTok studio all figured out. So it was a good exit on that one. Okay. When is the best time to take profit? Typically on pullbacks, Mr. Hospitality. A percentage up on your account for a certain dollar amount. Last couple of days, I've been up maybe 7 or 8%. Held too long. Okay, so my guess is, based on what you're saying, you're in longer term plays. That'd be correct? Box there. Good idea to take a little small profits. Yes, you always want to collect on the way up or down. If you were in a long or a call, if it were a stock option, you definitely want to collect on the way up or on the way down. And certainly you want to be collecting on what would be a gamma candle, a candle that will rob you of profitability if you let it sit there for too long. You're doing options, especially if it pulls back on you. You get you're subject to acceleration. Now in longer time plays, if you're doing this over more than one day, if you're in an options play, you should be looking at options 90 days out. You're going to hold overnight for any length of time, up to what we would call a leap, and that's for a different Zoom and a different discussion. Let's see, Midnight Whispers. Hi all, not sure if you talked about it yet, but how do you trade silver? Well, there was a perfect run through of how I traded silver today. We use the break and hold of the 9 as our main strategy for scalping here. And what that looks like is the 9 EMA, which is the white line on our chart right now with coach's indicators. Right here, you'll see that. So right here is the 9. Then we have the 21, and we have the 55. Utilizing all of these indicators, we are when we utilize these indicators, we're utilizing Coach's 2-minute EWO strategy, which is what I was going through with the entry, exit, and shed points. Good question. Thank you.
Are you watching silver right now?
I am. Let me get back to the live chart. Oh, yeah.
You're on 15-second chart? Is that what you're on?
No, I was replaying. Look at this pull on silver right down to the 200. Now, the first place I'd be looking for any support would be off of the last high that we broke. Again, broke our trend. I'd be looking for support right off of this guy here. So if the 200 isn't going to hold us up, my next level of support is going to be 76,338. Now, some of the things I like to do is put up an L2. Come on over here to silver. And what is this showing me? Well, the L2 is showing me all the limit orders, or at least some of the limit orders that are hanging around in the market right now. Doesn't necessarily mean that these are going to get filled, but what I'm seeing right here is that we have a diminishing number. We've got 76,300 showing up, which is squarely in the zone, right smack in the mean of this zone, which is off of this double top wick that we broke through, get us up here in the first place. So I'd be looking for support. This is actually the retest of that breakout of that double top. We never came back to it yet. This is the actual retest. Now, this has got a lot of energy to the downside right now. And if we were to look at this one as an EWO entry, the EWO entry would be right here, stop above the most recent high, make sure that we're good to go. And once you get some clearance, you can actually protect your trade relatively quickly because this moon moved very, very fast to the downside. So our entry being here, trade protected, and you are absolutely printing money at this point.
I got that bounce. That was nice.
You got the bounce?
Yeah,
Oh,
the-
you're only in for a couple of ticks at a time, aren't you?
No, but that was at the 78, whatever the mark that you said, I saw it. And a quick $50. It was off of 76, 7628,
76.28.
something like that. I don't see this thing that showed me positions. Just every time I do it, it's not good.
Are you in Tradeovate or TradingView?
Trade bait.
You can go to your performance center or page all the way down in your performance center and it'll tell you where your entry and exits were.
I go into where again?
Performance center.
Okay, I'm in there.
And then just page down. Now, sometimes I like to play a bounce off of the 200. The 200 is the second strongest indicator that we have on the chart. In this particular case with silver, I don't mess around with anything like that in silver. It Mark often references it as gold's wicked sister or the devil's metal. This one with the tick payouts and the volatility, this is an account wrecker if you don't know.
So we're still getting killed. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, nothing to joke around with. but we are finding a little bit of support in here. At least it's slowing its descent, right? But where's VWAP? VWAP is way down here. So our next levels of support beyond this are going to be here, all the way down here. We might slow down through this low here, so rather than a zone, I'll be snapping a line there, and I don't know why my hotkeys aren't working. But right there would be a potential slowdown as well. Reason being is we've got the local or the recent high before it made the new high right there, and this low right here. So as we broke that, this was a key level for it to come down and recheck. It rechecked and then blasted off. So this right here at 75.85-ish, I would expect to be a fairly strong level of support. But we got to get down there first. And we've got a fair amount of consolidation that happened right in through here. And candle closures all the way back over here that could stop this progression as well. But it's all about market sentiment and what people are feeling at the moment. I would not be looking on a long here. Yeah, that's just looking at the micro at I want to say it's $5 a contract payout. Let's get silver. So micro silver is every 5 thousandths or 0.005. And the payout on that is $5 per tick. So our tick value is 0.005. EWO entry to the downside right now. You're still in it. You haven't shed a single thing because there's no pullback at this point. That's 260 ticks to the downside, depending on how many contracts you're running with. 260 times 5, that's $1,300 in a micro contract. Not bad if you can stomach the pulls and pushes. Again, it's extremely volatile and very dangerous to trade, but if you know what you're doing, it can also be very, very lucrative. So right now we've got $76 as our floor. If you look over here at the L2, I'm seeing $76 even as a decent floor or support level. So right down here, we're at 76.105. $76 is right here. There it is. And out the line. Figure out what's going on. But that support got pulled before I could snap it. And now we're just melting down. Again, 75.885 would be a potential slowdown point. Why? Because this is the natural double bottom right here from the last move to the upside. So if we're not respecting this on the way down, then we have a tremendous amount of volume just pushing this thing. Now, if I were in this trade, I would be moving my stop down quite handily. I'd probably have it above the 200 right now, as the 9 and the 200 are right there. We are coming up into power hour, and we don't trade during power hour. It's too dangerous. For our members, we ask them not to trade during the power hour, which is between 3 and 4 o'clock. Most definitely not the last 10 to 8 minutes of power hour, as I typically see at 3:50 Eastern each day. Some pretty high volatility coming in. So looking at this slowing down here, we've got 75.80 going up on the L2. There's a bit of a support. Oh, doesn't mean that we're going to reverse or retrace. Halfway to 50K. Let's get it. Thank you very much, everyone over there on the TikTok. We've got 25K likes, 26K likes right there. Great job, everyone. Thank you for your help. We appreciate it. So we've slowed down I am on the 2-minute right now. We've slowed down. Here's our double bottom. I could jump into this and see if we can get a little bit of a bounce out of this. I am actually late to the entry. I would actually be entering right off of 76,885 if I wanted to take a bounce play. So since I missed that, I'm going to wait and see what direction it wants to continue to go. So we got a bit of a doji there. Get in for a little bit of a bounce. I'll put my stop down below the low. See if we can't catch a little bit of a bounce up to this key level here where we broke through. Got some interest to the upside. How much of it we're going to see here. If I don't see too much movement, I'm not going to let this thing whipsaw back in my face. I'm going to close it sooner than later. I want to give it a minute to do what it's going to do. So what I'm looking for is, since this was such a large volume candle to the downside, I'm looking for some level of a pushback or a retracement into that candle. See what we get here. 76.10 showing up. It's really starting to slow down. I don't like it. I'm going to take it there. And that little trade just got me. Let's see, where's my trade rate? Look at that. That was just a quick $30. Now, it was slowing down. I didn't trust it, even though that was still going to push up. I'm okay with getting out of that, because too often when it was really close to the 50% line there, what will end up happening is it could hit that 50%, find a struggle here, and then whipsaw back in my direction. Now, because that's silver, again, I don't mess around with it. If it's not going to make a volume move, I'm out. No messing around. 253. Nice. Thank you, everyone, for joining us over on the TikTok. If you do have any questions, please make sure you type them in. Good to see everybody over there. Sussex Gold buyers join the live. Thank you very much. All right. So now we've got our double bottom bounce. We are running up into resistance here. Not to be too shocked about this. So what I could do is take this to the downside again. We've got 76.20. It's not showing me a total too much interest in coming to the downside yet. I'm going to wait for confirmation here. If we get down here and we break this low to the downside, we can take it down to the low. 76 showing up as support again. Now, if I wasn't looking at other things and watching this as closely as I normally would be, I would be checking this and taking a short off the 9. But we are on the bottom of the trend channel, and this is now in the 1 minute. You can see how the bottom of the trend channel is actually showing us a little level of support here. So coming over here is our double bottom bounce. You look at all of this traffic in through here, that can also act like support and resistance. So right in through here, I'd be looking for some level of interest to the downside. So here we come. There's our pull. Now, again, if I was paying attention and not running through this, I would be taking this short off of the 9, and we'd be making the money right now. Yep. So you can see that we didn't make a new low here on this move. We've got interest back to the upside at 75.90 as a goal. 590, trying to keep it up. 75, 885. Nope, breaking down. Here we go. And there's the full pull. We broke that level. Now back down to the next level of support. Ooh, it was aggressive. All right, so our next level of support here is another double bottom right here. This was the low prior to the next low. So this would be our next natural spot for some level of resistance to the descent. This. This breaks this low and holds. Try another scalp to the downside, but I want to make sure it breaks and holds this level or shows me a retracement. I'll get in the long here. See if I can get this pop back up. Stop in there just in case. I'm down below the low here. A little late on the entry. I'm looking for this retracement on this big candle is basically what I'm looking for. On the bottom side of the L2, what I'm looking for over here is I want to see these numbers growing. Don't want to see them getting lower. But this is a support zone. You got to give it a little bit of time to work. Yep, and there we're out. Okay. No bounce. At least not yet. Two. Yeah, there's the 8 again. Promise. Okay. So we can get a bounce up to 9 here. $5, 20. I want to see this increasing. Just to breathe back. Actually going to get a bounce. This is a double bottom area. Got to let it breathe a little bit. More times than not, and again, I was late to the end. More times than not, it's going to come down and try and find its bottom and then pull back. Now, we do have VWAP sitting down here, and if this pulls again and breaks down below, we'll take short and see if we can't ride this to VWAP. Next low. Here's the buttons are working. Next low is at 75,375. Okay. Shoulder on shoulder. Love it. But no energy. Oh, baby, get up there. I'm going to take a little bit of the heat off of this one. There we go. Check my trade. That's the move I wanted. And I wasn't quick enough on the button, but basically what you wanted to do there is take it up to the 9. But trade protected, not a negative. And there it goes. Now, I still don't believe this is an upside move, but we'll see what we get. The entry on the side off the 9 again. Timing's off today. We end up with yeah, I'm on the 1 minute, Alex. You are correct. How much is a contract of GC? Jackass over on TikTok. Well, it depends on the broker. If you're going to be trading Let's see. Live discontinued. Due to inactivity. All right. That's a bit frustrating. So TikTok is back up. A lot of activity over there. It is what it is. I was just looking at questions. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for your time. Yeah, I know, Mark. Saw that too. I was just about ready to come over and answer some questions. It said shut down due to lack of due to inactivity. Silly. So, if I was on my game today and actually taking this, I would have taken this off the 9 and back to the downside. Looking at this, we're finding support at that next relative low here, which is our next double bottom bounce. But again, this thing is still pretty heavy to the downside. Now, if you're in this EWO, your first shed point would have been right here. Your second shed point would have been right here. And you'd still be in this because there's absolutely no reason to get out of the trade yet, as long as you've got multiple contracts in here. So running this as an EWO to the downside, if I move this back to the 2-minute, you can see that a shed point on the 1-minute versus the 2-minute were merely consolidation. So looking, and that's why we run this on the 2-minute, is each one of these is nothing more than consolidation. So there's really no shed opportunity here. If you saw some of this breaking key level and then coming back, but as long as it didn't break back up above that candle, you're still in this trade. So technically speaking, we are still consolidating here down at this level. And what I'd be looking at is a break above that candle right here. It would have to break above this level in order for this to be a reversal of any sort. And as long as it doesn't, it can come up here and play around in this range all it wants to. But that's not necessarily a get out of the trade type of move. Now, what do we have happening here? This looks like a 3-candle reversal to me. If we can get this candle to the body of it to close above the gray body close here, not only do we have a large volume candle to the downside, we have a perfect doji and an engulfing candle to the upside. That's your 3-candle reversal. No, Mark, it didn't. How much is a contract of GC? Well, it depends on your broker. So I use Tradeovate as my broker. Some of us use Webull. In Webull, and that's the E-mini you're talking about, GC. In Webull, intraday right now, because of FOMC meeting, volatility rather, is 2904, so $2,904 per contract. Whereas in Tradeovate, the typical E-mini contract for gold would be 1,000. I'm not sure what it is right now due to volatility. I can check that quick. Danny Cheap. see, gold. This gold contract over in Tradevate is $500 for the E-mini. Now, during high volatility times, they will at times increase those margin rates due to FOMC meetings, high volatility, global market conditions, so on and so forth. Yeah, Jadon, we're not going to do it. Thank you. Did it. Tradebate, it is a really nice platform. I do like it. The trouble with it though is the charting stinks. So with respect to how that works, I really do like Weeble's charting in there. However, you can't link the practice account to TradingView, and I really like trading in TradingView with Coach's indicators and the charting tools that we've got. It really is a nice platform to do that in. So I prefer Tradevate because what I can do with Tradevate, bear with one. What I can do with Tradevate is log into my practice account. I can log into my demo practice account and get the exact same mechanics as live trading. So I get a real live practice experience, a real live demo experience, logging into a demo account through TradingView. All right, I'm going to be watching TikTok very, very closely here in case it gives me another warning. Again, please like, share, and follow over there. Appreciate it. Pays us over on the YT. Yeah, there's a lot of money in that silver trade to the downside. So the downside EWO on this silver play now, this would definitely be a shed point. You can see that we're coming up and we're breaking the 9, but as we come up to this double top, or this consolidation area that I had marked here from this top to the low, we're just working through this area, and I would expect that we'd see some resistance here at 75.915 as we are. So as it works itself back in the other direction, what was resistance on the way down is going to act, or what was acting like support on the way down is going to act like resistance on the way back up. Yes, that's correct. The micro gold is $50. Now, they recently increased that to, was it recent? I think it is. They recently increased margin rates over the weekend. For Sunday open, the margin rates were quite a bit higher. I think gold was, micro gold was trading at $200 in margin requirement there for a little bit. So. Oh, okay, Mark. The other thing that I did recently on my little tiny account is I've made enough in that account to pay for their $1,500 lifetime. It's a great platform. Now, here's something that we're doing, ADT is doing right now, is we have linked up with Tradeify. And with Tradeify, if you use code ADT, you get a pretty hefty discount on any of the Lightning funded accounts. So, yep. So, where did I learn that? I don't know. Some old guy on the Tickety Talks in the YouTubes. I think his name is Coach. I say old. He's only a year older than I am. But he refers to himself as the old man. So lovingly we call him that. But Coach over here at ADT is who's teaching us about these double bottom bounces and these reversal patterns. So if you're into learning how to do this stuff and you want to make a better life, have a chance at a better life for yourself, go blue. Yeah, definitely go blue. You got to come in here and at least get the free Discord, get into the chat, get involved with the community. It is an incredible community for learning, education, and support. We are not a call out group. We're not going to give you signals. We're not going to do any of that kind of stuff. So if that's what you're looking for, that's definitely not us. We're going to teach you how to chart. We're going to teach you how to look at the market, what's important, what is not. And that way you can make your own decisions outside of being in our live Zooms every day from 8:30 until 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. EST. We have moderators that are hanging around all the time, whether it's midnight, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. We've got members that live across the world and still find support out of our community. If you're looking for a place to learn with an incredible amount of support, ADT is the place to be. Now, this looks like it wants to turn around a little bit. We came up to the mean of the channel, right up into the middle of the cloud here. We got our little double top right here, which was the rejection off of this key level that we snapped from the last double bottom. So if I can get into this here, late again. So I'm be looking for this to come down and challenge this bottom here. Keep my stop relatively tight in case this thing will come back at me. Just above the 9 here. I really want it to be in on the entry of this candle right here in case this does come back to the mean. I want to continue higher. I don't want to be in it too far if it's going to come back and just use this as a bounce. So looking at this, I'm looking at 75, 667, 666, 50, 45. Looking for 750 or for 50 cents. 75.50 is here. Kind of green. Now, once you commit to a particular stop, you do not move it. I do have the middle of the trend channel here to act like support and resistance. I also have these lows right here that are going to act like resistance, but that was a pretty strong buyer's wick on that previous candle. So this could come back and snap me out of the trade. But again, I don't want to be in it if it's going to come up too high. This is now looking like a cup and handle type pattern. Here's our high. Here's our relative high. This came down. Here's the handle. This is now the return. The key here is we still have to break out of this zone right here. So a break and hold above the 21 would be the way to go. On the live, we got to break this area here. Yes, yes it is. Especially since I've been up since 2. So break and hold of the 21 to the upside and this key level, and long as we've got some interest up here, we can take this to the long side. Goes. Stop this time so I don't do the extra clicking. Here's our break, but no hold yet. Candle, a ton of energy. Let's see if we can take this up to the double top here. Go. Protect this right away just in case it does something silly. This is my target that I want to get to. Finger on the button here. Come on, get up there. If I see this thing slow down, I'm just gonna exit, take what I want out of it. There's 76 again. As long as 76 stays in the middle of the L2, I'm okay. I'm out. Again, I don't mess around with silver. I set my stops, I do what I do, and if it wants to continue, so be it. But all too often, right here, I'd be looking for another rejection. And why? Because this is where all these bodies were resting right here, and that's where we topped out. So if this were to continue to the upside, that's fine. My next entry point would not be a long until we're out of all of this. I don't play around in the cloud too often. Reason being is that this is a counter trend scalp, and I've got lots of evidence of it respecting this level at 76,175. And that's it. It was a break and hold of the 9. Quick little scalp up to as close to a double top as we can get before it slowed down. There goes Mark, trading in the doctor's office. 13.20 today. Nice work, man. Yeah, silver's been a really a great trending trade lately with the industries that are taking silver on. You know, you've got the battery for EV cars. You've got data centers sucking up a lot of the silver. So we're seeing a ton of interest in the silver market right now due to supply and demand. All right, pop these things out of here, clean off the chart. Now, the overall move from top to bottom, we're at the 50% line. What does that mean? Well, if we break and hold above 50%, then we are truly in a recovery bounce. If we cannot hold here, then I'd be looking for another play to the downside, because typically we'll see it make a decision here at that 50% of the overall move from top to bottom. So there's our rejection. We get a break and hold of the 9 and the 21 again, and we can take this back down to probably back down to VWAP. It has the energy and the interest to do so. Now, the biggest impediment to that particular move is going to be this buyer's wick that we just had that stopped us out on the short in the first place. So as it comes down, I'd be looking for support out of here again. So what I'd really like to see is just this thing bounce around in here for a bit, come over to the right side of the trend channel over here, and then make a move. Now, why does that matter? Well, that gives me more room to the downside. If I break and hold below this low, it gives me more room to the downside. I'm not challenged by the middle of the trend channel that could act like support. Now, a break and hold of the 21 here to the downside, not a terrible play. The only problem is that you're really close to the middle of the trend channel, and you've got the support area right here from the last low. So be very careful with those things. But to see it sit here and bounce on the mean or the 55, now if we get a break and hold above the mean, and above this this rejection wick here, then the only impediment to the move up would be right here off of where it consolidated this. Now you can see that the bottom of that is the mean of the channel, or the actual move. That being the case, this is where we consolidated. We would still want to see a break and hold of the 55, but expect some level of resistance as we work through. Now we've got interest at 76,255 to the upside. 255 doesn't even get us to the middle of the, or to the mean of the overall move. So I am still waiting for this to make a decision one way or the other. Break and hold these. Absolutely. So Mark Cussum over on YouTube. Mr. Hospitality, a short is merely a sell. Yeah, I know. If I wasn't teaching, I would have been in this thing on the way down and I wouldn't have had any troubles staying in that one. It was just gorgeous. Mr. Hospitality, a short is nothing more than just selling. So in futures, when you're selling a contract, you are going short. And yes, you are borrowing and using margin in the futures market. So everything that you do, even though you have to have cash to support it, in order to go short, you are actually borrowing that to sell it. You can see how we're struggling with the mean of this overall move here. Okay, again, not to drive too fine a point on it. This was the start of that move. This was the end of the move currently. And right here is the middle, or what we call the mean of that move. If it cannot break and hold above that, the recovery of that move stops. So we could sit here and consolidate for a while. And again, what I'd really like to see is this thing move over to the side of the trend channel, let the 9 and the 21 catch up to the 55, and then we've got a greater opportunity for a cleaner pull to the downside. We've got more room to the downside. That's 80 ticks. You know, so that's $240 on a micro contract in just one contract. We have a very nice to the downside. Break and hold. So talk about a break and hold. Break, when we're talking about a break, talking about a break of the indicators. These off. So we've got a 921 cross here. That shows us strength to the upside, where the 9 actually crosses the 21 to the upside. So on the way up, we've got a break of this candle, or the candle breaks the 9 and 21 at the same time. Again, another show of strength. So, sure I stay engaged over here a little. So I've got a break of the 9 here to the upside. The hold candle is the very next candle. And the key here is you want shoulder on shoulder move. Okay. So a shoulder on shoulder move with some volume. Now we didn't have very much volume here, but we did have a relatively good result. And when it paused here, because I'm only scalping, I tend to get out, and we had this double top right here. So as this one actually closed out, I could have gotten into another scalp right here as the volume move up, but I was fine with this move for the time being when I was in it. But the break, this is the hold candle, and if you wait for the hold candle to close, this could be your entry candle to the upside. Now, the challenge there is the higher you enter, the more risk you have to a key level or a key zone. Okay? So entering this high, my biggest concern would be this double top, this seller's wick over here. Okay, those two things in both cases gave me this rejection. And this was a lot of selling right here. Came all the way back down to the 9, and it touched in on the 9. And now between here and the 55, that is an absolutely no touch zone. You don't want to play between indicators. So even though the move to the upside as a scalp is still, or the move to the upside is still, going on, scalping in between indicators like this, if you want to make sure that you've got enough space. So if you've got enough space, you can do it. And if you've got relative highs that were not necessarily hard rejections, but relatively soft rejections, you can tell by the size of the wick, they're less likely to be as reactive. Now, the sooner you actually come up and check these double tops, the less strength they have. So as you can see, and point this out on the double bottom bounce. So over here, we had a bounce potential here. It didn't stop there, it slowed down, but this was our actual double bottom bounce right here. Well, if you look at the distance in between the time between these two, that's 4 hours and 38 minutes. So the longer the period of time in between making new lows, the more strength it has with respect to a double bottom bounce type scenario. So looks like we're recovering nicely. We've broken above the mean, and now we're challenging this bounce there. Now we're challenging the consolidation that I snapped earlier is right here. So as we come up into this area to challenge that double top or that top of the consolidation, we're going to find some resistance. Well, obviously we are seeing it. However, we also have the top of the trend channel right here that's acting as a resistance level. And as I mentioned, what I really want to see here, is for it to come over here, the 9, the 21, and the 55 all bunched together at the top of the regression channel or the trend channel here. And then I'd like to see a pull out of this area because, again, that gets me a ton of space before this low or the middle of the trend channel, take a short. So we're just going to be patient and wait for the right setup. Now, if this wants to come back up and tap into the 200, the only thing in the way of that is this low, really, here. So we've got a ton of space here that we could do a really nice recovery play with once we break out of this zone right here at 76.60. The gator. Mark's over there touting the Buckeyes. All right, so squarely in consolidation yet again on silver. Wants to do. We're in a bit of a fist fight here on the L2 as well. What I'm looking for, break down, back down. Doesn't be it. We can take it to the upside too, but it's got to break out of this area. All right, thank you everyone over there on TikTok. We're up to 2,500 likes again. Appreciate your time. There's a possible break to the upside. In the strength that we need. See this pull again, 76.46. Brings us back down to the mean of that. I haven't done just yet. Over here on YouTube, I'm going to post some links to our promos. While we're waiting for this decision. About all I can do in TikTok. So our Diamond Lifetimes right now are on sale. I can't necessarily tell you how much it is. TikTok doesn't stuff like that, but I'm telling you right now, it is one heck of a deal. That includes all of our membership services as far as stocks, options, crypto, and futures. Gets you 7 days worth of training from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. EST in the VIP Zoom. We start at 4 a.m. every day. The market is open. Still consolidating on silver. Well, no entry. It also gets you the crypto Zooms, which we have once a week typically for training purposes. Bucko and Chris over there do a really nice job. With okay. Bucko and Chris do a really nice job over in the Crypto Zoom showing us how to trade crypto effectively and safely. Welcome, Tough Mustard. Appreciate you joining. And Chaz, welcome. Thank you. Sure, we're still. So 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. EST in the VIP Zoom for our Diamond members and our VIP members. That also includes VIP Gold, which gets you the newsletter, VIP Gold breakouts twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, along with mentorship, which is once a week on Wednesdays. The Diamond membership also gets you access to futures, where we have live Zoom from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern every single day the market is open. Happy New Year, Coco. Haven't seen you, girl. How about you doing? Great to see you. Miss you, girl. Love having you in the Zooms. Wonder Hope to see you back soon. Oh, next week. Very nice. So yeah, back to the Diamond membership. We're live in the futures group every day. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. Scared me for a second. from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. EST. Now I could take this. This is a break candle. I want to wait for the break and hold. So got 18 seconds for the next candle. This could be coming down to support right down here from these highs right here. Want to make sure that we're not going to get too much of a reaction out of that or a continued pull to the downside. What we get here. Show me some examples of EWO and how to look at levels that can end the trade on it. Yes, absolutely. Not a great candle to enter, so we're not going to be entering a short on that candle. What we're looking for here is a shoulder on shoulder start with volume to the downside, and we got the shoulder start, a little bit of a breathe back here, but I'm not totally convinced this thing wants to go down yet. 7630 wants to pull back up to 7630, which is basically to the bottom side of that trend channel, or that channel that we were looking at right here. So yeah, 7632 is the bottom of that channel. We've got 7630, 53 contracts as a goal, pushing this up. The challenge here is that we don't really have any support, so this thing could just be retesting and melt down, but I want a definite pull. I want to break and hold below this. This is a kind of like a micro double bottom, and that's where the top of this wick is here. So again, if I were to look at this as a pattern, here's my high, here's my high, here's my medium, this is my handle, would be my push. So this could just be the handle of a W pattern that we're working with, and we also have this high right here that could act like support. So no entry just yet, and you can see why. No energy to the downside. So EWO for Marcus over on YouTube, you bet. Get rid of some of this stuff here so we're not in our way. So on this particular one, we want to go out to the 2-minute. Our EWO on this one was a little precarious of a start. We want the second bar larger than the first. So over here on the EWO indicator, this is the second bar. Should be able to draw there. Come on. There we go. So this is the second bar larger than the first to the downside EWO. Okay, so that is our entry point. And entry point only. That's what we use the EWO for. Once we're in the trade, we really don't use the EWO for anything other than watching the bars and the volume, making sure that we've got good progression to the downside. As we start to wane in that direction, you'll see that acting accordingly over here in the candles in the bars on the chart. So looking at this, the entry was here. Our stop loss would be above the last high there. And we have to sit through some consolidation right away. This isn't a great entry to the EWO because we didn't have a ton of volume in this candle to really get some space away from the indicators. Now, why were we consolidating there? Right here is the answer to that. All of this was support. So on this particular entry, the better entry was not the actual EWO entry, but a scalp entry to the downside, which allows us to break that area and break those zones. So here's our, here's the low. Let's see, this is the real low here to here. You can see breaking these. I'm not overly concerned about this one here because if we break these two, this is likely going to just break down as well. But you can see that we were consolidating right along the mean, couldn't break through the mean of this overall move, and then we finally get a volume candle to the downside. So if you were actually able to sit through all of this, your EWO entry would be proven out quite nicely. Already got the line there. And then you can move your stop down very quickly, cover your fees, let it do its thing. This had a really large volume move in 2 candles down to the 200. So on this second candle showing this kind of volume is when I would move my stop to the downside. Still dinking around with the middle of the trend channel here on the 2-minute. Can't seem to get direction one way or the other. Can't do that. Thank you. Apple's on sale right. So on the EWO entry, on the way down, protect your trade relatively quickly. The only possible shed point on the 2-minute side of things would have been here, but it really only was checking in on the 9, and it never broke this candle wick to the upside. So in this particular scenario, because it never broke the candle wick to the upside, it was merely consolidation. So there's really not a case for a shed here. The 9 was merely just catching up during consolidation, and as you can see, we got a further pull to the downside. So in this particular case, there really wasn't any cause to shed anywhere along this 2-minute EWO until you were full out right around in here, where it broke and held the 9. You could shed here, and then if it stayed in this area and didn't come back down and make new lows, it broke again and held above the 21, then you're full out there. But as it comes down to VWAP, I'd be looking for a VWAP bounce anyway, and I'd be shedding like a mad person down here, at least capturing something down here to get some money in the bank. Once you've gotten that done, if you wanted to, you could move your stop down to above the 200, where that's a relatively strong level of support and resistance pretty handily, and then watch the rest of this trade play out. If it breaks and holds the 9, again, you're moving your stop down just to make sure that there's any news events or somebody says something crazy on their social bot, on their social or what have you. We could make sure that we capture as much profitability there as possible, but this is merely just for knife drops. You don't want to let this thing melt all the way back up to that position if you can manage it at all. So EWO entry back up here, shed at the bottom of VWAP would be where I'd be pulling some contracts off the table, and then again once it broke and held above the 9 and started checking in with a 21, I'd be shedding here, and then I'd be full out of the trade when it broke and held the 21. Now it depends on how far away the 21 is from the 9. There's our pull on silver while I was talking about this. So going back to our levels, what I was looking for was a break of right there. So 76, 120 to the downside. There's our break candle. You can see that we don't have a ton of volume on this again. So this being just up and down like this is very challenging to try and scalp. You can scalp single candles if you wanted to. But in order to really get some momentum on this thing, it's got to break several levels here. So we're looking at 76 to the downside. Get down here. There's our quick little pull to 76. And here, I'm protect my trade real quick. There we go. Got to be quick, quick, quick. And I'm looking for it to come down to 775. Now I am protected here. Don't want it to hit my stop, but if it does, so be it. A buyer's wick on this last candle here. But I do see some interest to the downside. So there we go. Pull this down to this body here just in case I get a heavy pull. And get any more out of it. But that's the level I was looking for the support bounce out of. Why? Because of this giant wick right here from the last move to the top. 9 is starting to waver. Closely. 805. 79, 78. 76s. Here it comes. Come on. This is how volatile silver can be. And again, we're at 350. What did I say would happen at 350? 354, we get some volatility. And we could see a larger pull on the market or push on the market, depending on what you're sitting in. This pulls back down to that zone again. I'm going to take it. Finger on the button. $830, 20, 40, 815. Come on, it wants to. And 805. I'm looking at the bottom left of the L2 right now. I'm just going to take it right there at that last lurch. And that was just a little quick scalpy scalp. So, and that's why you take it where it slows down. All right, does anyone have any questions? The Tesla predictions or Apple? This is futures, but we can certainly look at something like that. We'll come over to watch list. Tesla. Very nice downside play on Tesla. All right. So here we are on Tesla. This is a beautiful EWO to the downside. Holy smokers. Looking at this, your EWO entry was over here, but that's awfully close to VWAP. I would be waiting for a break and hold on VWAP for a downside play here. So my entry on Tesla would be somewhere in this neighborhood. And as you can see, VWAP being above you, it will act like support and resistance. So as it comes back up to check on VWAP, it came back down and pulled again. So lots of double bottoms to deal with here. You've got support all the way through here. So no surprise that it was challenging and to get through that zone. And as soon as it broke and held that zone, this was actually the cleanest play down here at 3 o'clock, power hour. But if you're good at scalping, you can get in and out fairly quickly. Break and hold that 9 to the downside and just look for the volume play. Now you've got a week low. This is our low for the week so far that we made this morning. This is your natural double bottom right here. And I'd be looking for some pretty heavy support right in through here. So that would be 454.26 to 453.83. You're welcome, Mark. Thank you for hanging out with us. So I'd be looking for a double bottom bounce or at least some level of reaction at 454.26 to 454.8 or 453.83. Apple. Holy smokes. Apple's 350 candle was pretty wicked. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So on this particular move here, at the 350 candle, Apple pulled really, really hard and then got a massive, I mean, this is huge, massive wick back to the upside. That was a 40-cent move on just one pull and pop back up. So again, another reason why we don't trade in power hour is because of the volatility and especially the last 10 minutes where you can get candle wicks like this. Those are account killers. So trade accordingly. Be careful. All right, we got a couple of minutes until 4 o'clock when Dawn with the Aftermarket Show is going to be hanging out with us. So please join her. Stick around on the YouTubes and hang out with her for the Aftermarket Show starting at 4 o'clock p.m. EST. And that runs typically for about an hour until they get tired of hanging out. So 4 to 5 p.m. EST for Dawn's Aftermarket Show. Please also join us for Coaches Live, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. EST. Every day the market is open. This week, I think Coach is taking some holiday time, so we'll be holding that live broadcast with someone else other than Coach this week. If we are going to be holding it or not holding it, you will not see the notification. So typically, you will see us 3 times a day: Coach in the morning, Mark or myself in the afternoon, and then Dawn at 4 p.m. EST. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, get into the free Discord, AmericanDreamTrading.com. Join the community and get your learning journey started.